Okay. My name is Rafael Guiterrez, Ralph. Uh, I'm from Crockett. I was born in Mexico, raised in Crockett, and I was one of the guards on the team. I was playing basketball from the time I was in the fourth grade, probably, third grade leagues. We used to have them across the street there. I was refereeing girls' basketball games for a quarter a game. I always knew I wanted to play basketball, always. I can never remember not playing. So I never really planned it to happen that way, I really didn't. I played football and I played baseball till high school, and then I stopped and just played basketball. It's funny how this ended up. We were talking about it, me and Paul. You couldn't redo the way things went down again, even if you were a writer and you did it on paper. You couldn't script what happened. It was just like a bunch of young guys grew up together, playing together. And we always played with guys way older than us, 10 years sometimes, 6, 8 years. So for me, it was just, I guess I loved basketball that much. I didn't think I was even that good, really, to tell you the truth. I was kind of small. So it started becoming planning for the future around my junior year, maybe I could get into college to make my mom happy, So that's what I did. I kept doing it for that. But as far as a plan, I was a young kid, wild, and I didn't really plan anything that happened to me, to tell you the honest truth. But it all came out good. And I give credit to that for all the guys around me, you know what I mean? There was a lot of good guys around me. It was just like, it just happened, I guess. That's all I could really say, Well, Coach Erickson never called him Myron. It all goes back to me and Coach A. It happened because of the older guys we were with George, Leroy. They all played with Myron, all right? Myron played at a very high level when he was in college. So I was just happy to be there, put it that way. I don't think I ever had any bad words with him, and that's saying something. In the whole time I played for him. I played for him for 2 years. I played JVs. I didn't play on the varsity as a sophomore. So he was a strict coach. You had to do what he said. And I was so scared in a lot of ways, I just made sure I was always doing what he said, trying to be first in line, first to the end, or whatever, just so I didn't take on his bad side. Okay, every man has a bad side, and I never really saw his bad side. And he did a lot for me. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but he did a lot in other ways for me. So I just basically was glad to be there and tried my best every day. It wasn't like we didn't work for it. We played 2 or 3 nights after school. We would go to Rodeo and play. We'd play here. We'd play with the older guys. We'd have to wait our turn with the older guys because they were way better than us. You know what I mean? But that's what got us to be such a good team, in my mind, was all that time spent with the older guys. And listening to Coach Erickson. He was a good coach. He was fair, and he was strict. He was strict. But I had no problems with him. I loved that part of my life. Like I said, I don't think we could do this again over if you tried, the way it turned out for me. Because I kept going after I left high school. A lot had to do with Mr. Erickson. He paved the way for me on that too. Okay, so I believe we just respected each other a lot, is what it came down to. I didn't ever try to tell him anything, even in heated situations, when there was a lot of heated situations, and I didn't tell him anything. I just did what he said, you know what I mean? So I think that was good. I was on a real good high school team my senior year, my junior and senior years, both years. But Keith was there, okay? There was a couple other guys at schools were looking at them, not looking at me, okay? So there was a couple times when they came to look at Keith, and Myron brought me with him. Go play with Keith, he would say. There's going to be some people there. And sure enough, coach from Napa Junior College, a couple other coaches, my name started getting sent out a little bit. We had a real good year, got some awards. And then my junior college coach was Myron's high school coach, okay, when Myron was a player. Remember, we go back, we got to remember how good a player Myron was. He played in the Pac-10 when it used to be at the Pac-10. So anyway, he set me up in junior college with his former high school college coach, was now the head coach at the junior college he sent me to. So basically, he sent me there, he got me there, okay? And it was the high school coach, his high school coach, my junior college coach, was a very, very different than Myron. They called him the Bobby Knight of junior college because he would have tantrums. He wore cowboy boots to practice. He was an old man. We were 18, 19, 20. He was 50, okay? And he talked about strict. This was a strict man. But because Myron sent me there, because Myron was his player. Myron played in a pretty tough high school league. And then he played in the Pac-10 against Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, all right? These guys that I hung with and I played with, even though I didn't ever play with Myron, they had high expectations, high levels. You had to really reach to get to them, just to make it, you know what I'm saying? So he's done so many things for me. I could actually say there's never been another man like him in my life. Really, not even my own father. So, and he did all that, and we weren't personal. I never went to his house. I never met his wife. I never ate dinner with him after hours. It was strictly, student and author, basically. So, no, Myron did so many things for me, it'd be hard to count them all, It really would. And at the same time, I can say I didn't even realize he was doing these things for me till they were done, And that got me into the JC, a good JC, scholarship JC. And all of a sudden I arrive and I'm surrounded by 12 new players, all from different parts of the country, none from California. And they were all very, very good players. And he said, Ralph, you could quit and go home. But Myron wouldn't like that. And I think you're good enough to be here. So he gave me the competition, the confidence in myself to continue forward. You know what I'm saying? So that's a big deal. From the very beginning, from when, like I said, I started playing in the 4th grade Little Leagues. We got to 8th grade. That was the team. I think it was probably my sister's team. 76 a class. I had Eddie Cloud, Dino Devers, David Padilla, Leroy Kachaver. These guys were only immediate guys in front of me, 4 years older than me. They were seniors when I was a freshman. But we would play with these guys during the week, and every now and then they would let us go play with George and his guys, okay? He had a different group of guys that played with him, and they were the best out of all of them, okay? And even at times, to tell you how good Myron was as a player, I remember back, there would be times we were in here playing, and we weren't good enough to be in there with that group. Myron was playing then, okay? And Myron, you got to remember, he is 6'5", and he was a good player, okay? So we'd be setting, Keith would be in there with them a lot of times, but me and a couple other guys, maybe Paul, wouldn't even be playing with them because we weren't good enough to be in there yet, all right? And Paul was a very good player in his own right. So just it's like riding the coattail, I guess you could call it. I rode his coattail, George's coattail, especially George. George taught me a lot. He taught Keith a lot. Keith's father was also always there the whole time, okay, watching. He would never be out there with us, but he'd be watching, all right? And I would hitchhike from Crockett to Rodeo just to go play with those guys on Sunday nights, okay? Keith's father was the principal at Garrison High School, so he would let us in. But George would be there, Leroy, Noel, a lot of good players, older players. And even at times, Grant would be with me, Grant Grafani. And that's when I realized I just needed to stay with these guys. Just one way or another, just keep my head over the water with these guys, and I would end up being okay. My time would come, and it all translates back into the games we played. I don't think the games were quite as easy for us as Jeff says. I think we had some pretty good competition out there, or maybe I wasn't as good as I thought I was at the time. But they definitely made it easier for us to win. Because they didn't only play with us, they came and watched us, They would come to practice. Leroy became an assistant coach for a while. And it all comes right back from the big guy. It all comes from Coach E, you know what I mean? He did it. He didn't yell about it. He didn't never yell at me, to tell you the honest truth. Jeff, he yelled at a few times because he liked to dunk, and you weren't supposed to dunk back in those days. But everything came from the older guys. Because you remember, I got 4 older sisters also. My oldest sister was in George's class 67. I was always in that group. I listened to Motown before my time, When kids were listening to other younger rock groups, I was listening to the old black music from the older people, I don't think it made us, I think we had a real good team. And that's why Jeff thinks when we played against some teams, it was easy. And it was on some teams, but then there were teams that weren't that easy. Vannon would come in with a big team, But it all goes back to those guys. It really does. And it was just an accident. It happened. I still don't even. I think about it sometimes, and I don't even know how it happened. To tell you the honest truth. And then we got to junior college, and there was a kid that played over here at Benicia High School, Eddie Sheff. Okay, he ended up getting sent to the same junior college as me, playing for the same coach that Myron referred. His name is Eddie Shepp. He referred Eddie over to this coach. Okay, that coach got him a full ride at Washington State. He got me into Sacramento State. Okay, so it all came from the guys above us, all of it. I went from being a average sophomore player to getting a college degree because of these guys. It makes me get choked up a little bit, but I wouldn't have it no other way. I was reading Jeff's essay, and he had the use of all the statistic books, he told me. I thought he was remembering all this because I couldn't remember it, and I had lots and lots of good thoughts about games. Won a game right in here one time on a last-second shot from half court. That was my sophomore year. And on the junior varsity, not playing with the big boys yet, still waiting my turn, right? And then we had some really killer games against Vannon when we played to go to the playoffs, the CIF sections. Won some games on free throws right in here, last-second free throws. And so I figured if I could just hang with these guys, I'll end up all right at the end. Some exciting moments. We were at Benicia High School one time and won a game on remember that game? Last-second shot in Benicia Gym against the guy that got sent to the junior college with me. So I had bragging rights on him while we lived in the same apartment. I remember the Rip-On Christian game where we got in the gym, and the gym was sort of like this gym, but it was on both sides. And there was nothing but cowboys. You remember the cowboys that were lined up on the windows, standing up, and they were watching. Those were those kids, their parents, and these were big kids. They had a big white kid on that team, like 6'6", and we went down there and we played them tough. We played them close all the way till the end, right? And I remember that bus ride home. I'll never remember how long and quiet of a bus ride it was. And Coach Erickson, he would sit up at the front left corner, and his big-ass shoe would be out in the middle of the aisle. And the bus was quiet that night. But then we pulled in down here, and there's a bunch of people waiting there. And they had a little parade. just because we made it that far. We had a real good year. We won the league outright. And I had a lot of good guys around me. I was lucky. I had Paul. The guys were laughing out there in the hallway. I made my living off of Paul because he would slap the ball loose right to me every time. And I get a free layup out of it, you know. Paul was a real good player. Keith might have been the best player in the league that year. So I could give it to him. And then I had Jeff on the other side. So I was never had no load put on me. You know what I mean? I could pretty much do what I want. That's where me and Jeff are kind of similar that way. We were kind of like, we did our own thing. And when we did what we weren't supposed to, we got told. We got told. Coach Erickson was serious. He was a serious, very serious man. I couldn't have wrote a script any better than this, to tell you the honest truth. And Coach Erickson, George Schandelmeyer, Leroy, Paul's older brother, Mark, because that was part of the magic ride. We had guys from two towns that came together. And that doesn't happen. Usually you grow up in one town, you got all the same buddies, all right, growing up together. But they brought a whole nother set of guys over here from Rodeo that we had to compete with also and get to be friends with and get to know and get to play and be good enough to play with, all right? To make this team, you had to be one of the best players in Rodeo and Crockett both. It wasn't just about being the best in Crockett. You had to get the Rodeo boys too, all right? I left Crockett when I was 17, the year I graduated. And I never came back, and I regret that. I really do. Even though my life kept going, I went to junior college. I got a 4-year degree from Sac State. I got retired. I had a good job, but I always regret leaving Crockett. I did, because it was where I was felt at home the most at. You know, it was the secret sauce. But then it wouldn't have been a sauce without Paul D, because he was the safety factor. He could handle the ball. No one could take the ball from him. So when me and you got running down court full fast breaks, someone had to do what Myron said, and it was Paul. Paul was a very good player in his own right. You know, he didn't get the deserving accolades he should have in the league that he should have. On that team, I would never put myself as the second best player on that team. I just wouldn't. But that all comes back from playing with the older guys, George, and being brought up with Myron, real strict. It all comes back from those guys, because while you say that I was probably the second best player on that team, I think I was lucky to be in the starting 5. Keith was probably the greatest shooter I've ever seen, and I played with a lot of guys in junior college and 4-year colleges that couldn't shoot as good as Keith. All right, Keith was a great player. He really was. So I'm just glad it happened. I guess that's all I could really say. I know Myron helped me in more ways than you know. He, after I left here, I never seen him again. But he would call on me and check on me once or twice a year with the coach down there. They are always in contact. And my coach down there, the reason I could play for him, he was crazy. This guy was crazy, all right? It was because Myron taught me discipline to keep my mouth shut. And there's a good story in there. I don't want to bring it in now, but there's a good story with my junior college coach what happened because I didn't keep my mouth shut, all right, with him. So, I mean, you might be right. Maybe we were kind of wild. Maybe we were a little on the wild side. We were having so much fun, man. I'm telling you. We were winning. We were packing the stadiums. The newspaper would come out every week. Names would be in the newspaper. It wasn't just mine. I couldn't have got none of my stuff without Paul, Keith, and you. I couldn't have. So it all goes back to the 67 class. It really does. I'm not saying that team, but I'm saying in that time frame, being around, and you wouldn't usually find a bunch of young guys hanging with old guys like that. Usually don't happen that way. Okay? And then there was a set of guys in between like Steve DeRay, the Maria brothers, Mark, the older guys, good athletes, real good athletes. Bob Trelia, his dad. It was just, I call it luck. I don't know what other way to put it. You know what I mean? I loved every minute of it. You know what I mean? And so I'm ready to die. I tell my people that. I'm ready to die because my life, I had everything I wanted. You know what I'm saying? I went to a nice JC. I went to a nice state school. I married a real pretty girl from Malibu, no less. So, I mean, I'm okay. I'm okay. This was probably the best thing to happen to me in 10 years right here. This whole thing that you set up. And even though I didn't jump in the group conversations, I'm not a big group conversation type of guy, but it meant a lot to me. You know what I mean? It meant a lot to me. They're adjusted or biased a little bit, a certain way, I would say. But just today, I mean, this was like a blast from the past for me, I told you. I grew up without a father, all right? But I met 3 or 4 people tonight who their fathers were like my substitute father. They really were. I mean, they were there. So I guess that's why I didn't get real super close to Coach Erickson. I kept him at a distance because I had other figures that were there. Quilici, Dennis was here earlier. His father, across the street from me, he was my first baseball coach. I had Hal Steinbach over there. You remember Coach Steinbach? He was there with me the whole way. Even to some great extent, Keith's father, he kept an eye out for me a lot because he knew my mother, you know what I'm saying? And he knew my sisters. I had same thing with the older guys ahead of me. I had all my 4 older sisters. I'm the youngest out of 5. So they were all in here. They paved the way for me to go here. They made it easy for me. So, I mean, even though it was hard work at times, messing with the old guys, I still wouldn't have it no other way, you know. If I see George, I'll probably start crying. Sure they did. And we played year-round back then. You know, baseball season come, it didn't matter. We'd go play basketball. Football, same thing. So it's just they let us in. And in this world now, there's a lot of older guys that are tracking ahead of younger guys. They don't give a damn about the young guys. They're out to get what they're out to get, and that's that. Those guys didn't do that. They paved the way for us. They let us in. But we had to be good enough, too. There was days when we weren't good enough, and I didn't get to play in with the guys, the older guys. I remember that game when Myron, Leroy, George, Noel, Dino Devers, Eddie Hill, they're all playing 4-on-4 out here. And I'm watching. I know I couldn't get in that game that day, all right? Because Myron's taking jumpers up over George, all right? Myron was a great player in his own right, you know? So it all comes down from the older guys. And that's just a blessing in my mind, it really is. We were the talk of the town for 3 straight years. And to tell you the honest truth, my sophomore year when we played for a coach called Oslauger, Coach O, my sophomore year was probably the greatest year I ever had. We, am I right? I thought we won the league that year too, didn't we? My sophomore year in the JV league, and we had them rocking in here. The JV team did before the varsity would come in, and so I got lots of memories. Mark Cox's dad, Ralph Cox, he was my teacher, of course. He was your teacher. Every week, if you had a good game, he would stop the class and point it out to people in the class. He taught history. I'm pretty sure it was history. And he would stop and say, "Hey, Ralph, how many points did you get last night?" And he would make you feel good. You know what I'm saying? I remember that. I remember I was a paper boy in town. So we were in the paper all the time. After every game, there was a picture of Jeff, picture of Keith. Someone was in there, and I had my share. In there, but I couldn't have did it without none of those guys. Wouldn't even try. You know, wouldn't even try. But the biggest thing I remember is the day we came back, my senior year, and Jeff was a junior. We came back on the bus. It was my last game at John Swett. And all those people were down there. A lot of people, probably 100 people, waiting for the bus to get in. And we lost. And so that showed me, you know, we did pretty good right there. That made me feel real good. More than scoring 20 or or any. Back then, it was only 2 points on a shot. So it was hard to get 20 back then. Now guy can get 20 in 5, 6 shots. So another thing I remember, I had a free throw streak going of consecutive made free throws in games. You got fouled, how many you made in a row. And I had a 2-year streak going. It was 34 free throws made in a row. And then someone got a hold of it and put it in one of the local papers. Sure enough, the next night we're playing right here, and I missed my next free throw. So there goes my streak. You know what I'm saying? So that's what happens when you think about yourself too much. Sometimes it's not good to think about yourself too much. So, but I loved every minute of it. I really do. What I remember the most about is running hard as you can to a layup, and you hit that damn wall every time. And you hit it hard sometimes, because you couldn't stop and turn fast enough. And they had the pad on it still back then, but this place was crazy. It was like being inside one of those snow globes that you shake up and the snow goes around. That's how crazy it got in here. And accomplished through hard work, because we always were going to gyms on our own. No one forced us to go. No one made us play. Jeff played baseball, so he wasn't with us maybe 9 months a year, but he would be there 6 months a year. Keith, he was strictly basketball. He was there always. Paul, pretty much strictly basketball. Me, I played football until I was a sophomore, and I found out I was no good, so I started concentrating on basketball. I think it would be hard to find another group of guys that came together over the span of a time it takes to grow up from eighth grade to a senior, that all happened all together like that. It's all in one continuous swoop, so to speak. I think that would be hard to do again. I really do. I'm not too good I try not to brag on myself, you know what I mean? So I'm not a very big talker when it comes to talking. But I know that I'm better off for everything that happened to me, And everyone watched out for me. Everybody did. All the parents watched out for me. So I'm just glad it happened, I don't want to get too sappy about it. But a lot had to do with the people that were helping me along the way. I had a lot of help along the way. A lot of help, So that's good. And when I heard Jeff was putting this together, I was excited. First time I've been excited probably since I was 60 years old, I was refereeing girls' basketball games for a quarter a game. I always knew I wanted to play basketball, always. I can never remember not playing. So I never really planned it to happen that way, I really didn't. I played football and I played baseball till high school, and then I stopped and just played basketball.